What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to Saturday night's late night agenda, where I hope we've all had a chance to, process everything that happened over the course of today's 90 minutes. It was another frenetic, mental game of football. To be honest, it was, I'm still working my way through it. Not too disheartened at the overall result because, you've seen the fight and the determination and the effort put in by the players. And that definitely is to be admired. But a couple of sloppy mistakes I think we can look to iron out, and hopefully we get some players back. I seem to be in the minority as well, by the way, with regards to the incidents around the referee. A lot of people feel a lot more aggrieved, and normally I'd be right on board with it. But honestly, I'm a bit confused around the whole refereeing display as well. I was listening to some match reactions from other people, just trying to figure it all out. But look, do you know what? I looked at the league table and then I felt a little bit better because, yes, Chelsea are getting closer to us, and if they win the game in hand tomorrow, they're only going to be, 2 points away. Yes, we have a game in hand, but Arsenal, we still have a lovely buffer there, so that's kind of made me feel a little bit better. If we win the game in hand, we'd still have a good 9-point buffer over Arsenal, which is very interesting indeed. This is a bit of a mad one, right? Miguel Delaney has just posted to say that Manchester City have sounded out a move for Paul Pogba. I'm going to repeat that again. Breaking news here coming in. Miguel Delaney has just posted to say that Manchester City have sounded out a move for former Manchester United player, the man coming back from a drugs ban, Paul Pogba, about maybe coming in to try to salvage their season. And we're supposed to believe they're not panicking. That sounds very panicky to me. That's mental. Honestly, that made me chuckle when I just read that a second ago. But yeah, I kid you not, Miguel Delaney, so a very credible journalist, fine journalist Miguel, to come out and say City have sounded out a move for Pogba. What world are we living in, folks? It's mad. Young James said 5 goals conceded in the last 2 games is concerning. It is, and look, we'll go through it all tonight. We'll talk about how we're feeling after the game. We'll talk about what is and isn't concerning. One thing is, though, if you include pre-season games for Arne Slot, the record is almost perfect. We've had 28 games all in, including pre-season games under Arne. And of those, we've won 23, drawn 4 and lost 1. But the way we've lost, I guess, the last couple of points, or the 2 draws we've had against Newcastle and today against Fulham, it kind of sticks in your throat a little bit because they could have been avoidable. But tonight what I wanted to focus on was the January transfer window. I was listening to David Lynch's match reaction as he puts up on what's the site that he uses again? David Lynch puts up his match reaction anyway, and I was listening to it and I was a bit shocked at one of the things that he said in it. So he said, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, I don't expect Liverpool to be active in the left-back market in January because we have Costas coming back, but acknowledge that we're struggling with Andy Robertson. So, Substack, thank you, David. Here's what I don't understand. When did Costas suddenly become good enough? Because he isn't. He has been better. He has battled with Andy Robertson. But if we're talking about the levels that we want from a left-back, Costas ain't going to be that guy. So I'm absolutely astonished that perhaps David doesn't think we need to look in the market, because I believe we certainly need to look in the market. If we look at Andy Robertson's last few weeks and, taking into account he's given away 2 penalties, he's had himself sent off stupidly today, had mistakes for the goal, and I don't think Costas is going to be that long-term solution when we'll be talking about selling Costas again in a few weeks or months' time. Surely we have to go into the market and look for that left-back now. I know everybody looks at these situations differently, but I'd be astonished if we weren't proactive in January looking to bring in some signings. Would I loan out Kwanzaa? Well, you see, the problem I have with that, Petter, is we're just short of bodies. So if you loan out Kwanzaa, who's covering? And that's the problem. You have to go get a centre-back, hope the centre-back can come in and assimilate himself into the squad, get up to speed. You're probably talking about another youngish centre-back anyway, somebody between the ages 19, 22 maybe. So no, I don't think I would loan him out, but I also wouldn't have brought him off the bench today because I think that performance and the way the game panned out will only knock his confidence even more. So yeah, it's a difficult one. Like, I don't want to go in on Kwanzaa because he is a 19-year-old centre-back, but I just didn't agree with the decision to bring him on today because he's shot of confidence as it is, and now he's after going into a situation where, yet again, he's had a part to play in a goal we've conceded where he wasn't good enough, and I just don't see what good it's going to do longer term now because he seems shaky. Jack O'Connell said, Craig, I was at the game today and I haven't had a chance to watch it back, but should Fulham have got a red card? Well, I guess it depends who you ask, because I'm probably in the minority on this in that I don't think that there was red card incidents there, in all honesty. Like, I don't think that the challenge on Gravenberg where he rakes the studs down his Achilles, I don't think that's a red card personally. But the way modern football is, maybe I can understand people talking about it because we've seen other instances where red cards were given. So I guess people want consistency. The challenge on Robbo at the start of the game I actually thought was a worse challenge, if I'm being honest with you. I thought of the two debatable ones, that was the one I thought was more reckless, higher up the leg, and more dangerous to Andy Robertson. So that was the one for me that I would be feeling aggrieved about. The one that I just don't know about, and the one I'm struggling to get a read on, is the Joe Gomez one where he collided into Tete, I think it was. That one I'm a little bit confused about, because what happens there? I know he wasn't playing the ball, but he absolutely cleans Gomez out. So that was the one that confused me the most today. Robbo has been in decline for a year, said Vernicho. The squad needs a left back, a centre back, and a central defensive midfielder soon, but FSG will let us down again. I hope they don't, because Arne Slot's done very well, and we're in a good position. And surely common sense would dictate that you now don't leave a stone unturned. You go into this January market and you back the manager, because there's no excuses left anymore. You had time now. Because we don't. What has Hughes actually gotten accomplished since he's come to the club? I'll tell you what, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Hasn't got signing through the door in midfield. Hasn't got one of the three contracts signed off yet that we know of. What have they been doing since Hughes and Edwards came back? Or since Edwards came back and Hughes came in? Genuinely don't know. So I'm hoping that they've been active, they've been looking, they've been monitoring, they've got a couple of names for Arne, and that we're going to be moving on them. What I don't want to hear is that we're waiting for the summer again to see if Zubamendi really has changed his mind or not, because that allows another season to get away from us where we're rolling the dice on availability of players and strength and depth being enough for the rest of the season, and that hasn't worked for us in the past. So yeah, I'm open-minded gone into the window, but I'm not going to accept nothing. That nothing is an unacceptable answer to me if we go into this market and don't bring in any players. Liam Robb said, every fan wants new faces, but the negativity this channel brings when the market comes about is boring. Well then, don't fucking watch, Liam. It's as simple as that. Look, Liam, let me say this to you. You can rim job John W. Henry and FSC as much as you want, and that is absolutely your right to do it. But you will not come into my chat, call the channel boring, and have a dig at me. The owners are pathetic. They're cheap. And if you don't feel that way, Liam, I don't know what the fuck you're watching. Because season after season, window after window, they don't back the manager. So rather than complain at me, who's a fan, asking for a little bit more from the manager, I don't know what you expect, mate, because I promise you, you are in the minority. More people feel like me than like you, Liam. But again, nobody forces you to be here and watch, mate. There's plenty of other channels that are a lot more friendly towards the owners that would probably suit your needs a bit better. So, don't let me keep you. And yeah, look, I don't get it. I don't get how anybody can defend these owners in the transfer market. It's inexcusable to me how people can accept it. It's bullshit. Am I worried about Chelsea? Again, I wouldn't use the word worried, but respectful of what they've done so far this season. The league table doesn't lie. Anybody who's in the positions they're in deserves to be in those positions. So I've got, nothing but praise for how Chelsea have started this season. But I'm more concerned about us and, making sure that we keep this buffer. Chelsea have done well and they could get it down to 2 points tomorrow, albeit with a game in hand. But I do think that their lack of, muscle memory or the lack of being in a title race in recent years with this group will eventually catch them out. I think they're conceding too many chances. But look, they deserve the credit. Maresca's got them playing some good stuff. Easily the best channel. I mean, look, people are free to have their own opinion. And I wasn't toxic towards Liam. I gave him my honest assessment of what he said. But here's what I don't understand. Why would you watch a channel that you don't like? That part baffles me, Limo. It really does, mate, because there are plenty of channels that won't speak negatively about the owners. And you can watch them with your own free will. But I don't get it. Because are you happy with the transfer business in the summer? Are you happy with the transfer business in recent years? Because there is a lot that I'm not happy about, mate. And I'm not just somebody who rants about John non-stop. I tend to keep it quiet outside of windows and then call for what I think we need. I don't go in on them on social media publicly. I don't get toxic about it. I call out the cheapness. And I'm going to continue to do it until shown otherwise. Yeah. And look, I know that there are a lot more people who back my stance on this than don't. Everywhere I go, everybody I speak to, Scousers, non-Scousers, every time I'm out and about, everybody stops me and says thank you for saying what others won't say. So I'm feeling quite comfortable where I'm at, mate. Anthony Robinson or Kirkes? Choose one. Kirkes. Robinson's too old for us to look to sign. He's 28 next season. Or 28 at his next birthday, I should say. And very good player. I've said that for a long time. Great engine. Always causes us trouble when we play against them. And I thought he dealt relatively well with Mo Salah today as well. But 100% the younger one. We don't do business for 27, 28-year-olds. And, we're only really kicking the can down the road a little bit with the problem if we were to bring in somebody at 27, 28 at left back. Good player, though. As I said, good player. No doubt about that. Gary? Dave? My name's Craig. Great channel, thank you. FSG are clowns. Fact that the top 3 players still don't have signed contracts is ludicrous. It's absolutely embarrassing, isn't it? I don't understand the FSG apologists. We are sitting here now waiting to see if the 2 at least of the 3 biggest players at the club are going to be still here. About to go into a January window. Have spent fuck all in the last window. And people are happy with that. Some people, I don't know what to say. I look at it a bit differently. So my view of it is, yes, we have achieved some good stuff. And yes, we've won trophies. But there's more trophies that have been left on the table, in my mind. So I think about it from the point of view of what more could we have won if we were just a bit more proactive in the market. Because it gets more infuriating when you think about how good we are in the market as well. Very few failures of transfers. Of course, like any transfer that clubs do, there will be some. Keita, Darwin's not looking great. There'll always be a few that don't hit it. But more often than not, I think the transfer business has been pretty good. Which just makes you feel like, do more of it then. Mohammed, how are you, bro? Said, we're desperately missing Kanade's robustness. We are, and also I thought we missed Alexis McAllister today again. I thought Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai worked really hard. Good, honest performance from both of them. But yeah, I thought we missed that bit of guile from Maka as well. But yeah, you're right about But I say that, but I don't think Gomez did a whole lot wrong today, in all honesty. It was the red card that really just caused us a big problem in that game. It was tough enough going 1-0 down, but to concede such an avoidable unnecessary red card as well was frustrating. But if you look at it the other way, I guess we did so well to fight back into the game. And I've been very upbeat about seeing so many people speak about that facet of today's game. You know, we didn't get the result we wanted, but the boys showed again that they've got heart, they've got courage, they've got fight in them. Arna has shown his tactical acumen, was able to tweak things. I was so impressed with his conduct on the sideline, or his demeanour on the sideline today. Just going through methodically what he needed to do, wanted to do. Nitpicking on the changes, I would have maybe made some a bit earlier, but I thought it was a good show from him as well today about why he is so highly rated as a coach. TOTT2KZ1, how are you, my friend? So January will show how FSG feel about the club. If they want to show hunger to win, they need to back slot. If they do nothing, it just shows all they care about is money and their own pockets. So, I guess. The mad thing is here, right, I actually feel like I've been calm and rational about transfer business. Because I don't really think I lost my shit as much as I should have in the summer. I didn't really talk about it as the season started and we've gone on because you wanted to focus on the games and the performances. But as we're getting closer now and we're starting to see that we've had some moments with injuries now that have impacted us. Because, let's be honest about it, McAllister's suspension, Canade being out, no option for Bradley there today. These are all things that could be fixed with a bit of investment. So, you know, I hope we address in January, because I fear if we don't that we're going to have a frustrating end to the season. Excuse me. Great effort from 10 men, nearly 90 minutes at a time. Proud of them for that. Couldn't agree more, Vinicio. Absolute great performance, courage-wise. None of them, well, I say none of them, most of them can leave there with their head held high. I thought Trent was shocking. Attitude-wise, shocking. Some players just weren't having a great day. I don't think Diaz was brilliant through the middle, but, you know, never going to lack for effort from him. I thought Robinson kept Mo relatively quiet, although Mo did obviously have a big part to play with the assist for Cody's goal. Cody himself, again, got the goal, but I was found wanting a little bit more from him. But you've seen the class of Diogo when he came on then as well. I mean, I wouldn't even class that as a full proper chance. It was a half chance that he turned into a goal. Johannes Bowman said, we are too slow from kick-off the last few games. Yes, we are. Now look, today was a bit of a weird one in that the game started and then there was that mad foul one in the first minute. And that kind of put the game off to a weird one. And the manager said that we kind of struggled to catch up with that intensity after that. So, I do agree with you. It is something Arna needs to address. Because second half, I don't think we can have too many complaints at all this season with any of the performances in the second half. Or at least most of them. Fawzi said, unlike Arsenal, we can at least come out with a point instead of crying and losing the game. I mean, that was a real chance missed for Arsenal today. Big, big chance missed for them. They could have closed that gap. But now, if we win the game in hand, we still have a 9-point gap over Arsenal. So Chelsea are certainly the ones we're going to be keeping an eye on the most at the minute because, you know, they can close into within 2 and then obviously we have the game in hand. But, yeah, look, at least it makes it a bit exciting. But yeah, look, we need to stop thinking about Arsenal as this big bad bogeyman machine because they've not shown anything this season to suggest that they're going to be able to rein us or anybody else in. Like, even if we fell away and Chelsea went ahead, I just don't see Arsenal as having the bottle to do it or the guile to do it. You know, we haven't had £100 million midfielder brought in. You know, if we had £100 million midfielder brought in and we weren't winning a league, I think our fans would rightly be pretty furious about it. But we haven't. We've had Gravenberch who's turned into a £100 million midfielder, and that's down to his great work and Arna's coaching, of course. But yeah, I'm not fearful of Arsenal at all, to be honest. I'm not. I'm only fearful of us, if that makes sense. If we can go about doing what we do averaging 2.5, 2.4 points a game. I don't think we're going to be too far off. Ashley said, might be harsh, but I feel at times this season Robertson and Núñez have been passengers. Both need to start pulling their weight. I'm on the fence a little bit around what's going on with Robbo. But even in games where I think he's done okay, we've seen him giving away 2 penalties recently. And that 20 minutes today was just inexplicable. From the 2 mistakes for the opening goal to the miscontrol and then the stupid foul for the red card. All avoidable. And a senior pro like Robbo shouldn't have brain fart moments like that. You know, fair enough, anybody can miscontrol a ball. But then the misjudgment again to go and bring down the player, get yourself sent off. I think we need to stop living in the past in some regards. Sister of Night 101 said Arsenal haven't won anything recently, plus they've Champions League as well. They can't cope. They can't. And I'm going to say this again. I don't think they have the bottle for it. You know, put ourselves in Arsenal's position as Liverpool fans, right? Let's say Arne Slot's in here 6 years. I don't know. How long is Arteta the manager? 5 or 6 years. So Arne Slot's here 5 or 6 years. He spends a few hundred million on transfers, and we've won FA Cup to show for it. Do you think, as a fan base, we would be satisfied with that? The answer is absolutely not. Not with that level of investment, not with the backing, not with other teams falling away. No. Because basically, all the media were short of doing this season was just giving Arsenal a title and just saying it'll be them and City. And then when City had a wobble, it was, oh, well, Arsenal. They haven't shown it. They haven't shown any balls to deserve to be talked about as a big concern. So yeah, if Arteta was a Liverpool manager or a United manager, he'd be under pressure. If he doesn't deliver a big one, he'd be getting a sack. I think that's an honest assessment. $700 million for one trophy, said David. Like, that is a lot of money. 115 or 110, sorry, for Declan Rice. Then they brought in Marino. They brought in Havertz. They brought in Sterling. That didn't work. They brought in Trossard. They've brought in a new goalkeeper. They've brought in a couple of left backs, I think. Like, they've spent decent money. But they've never even been in a proper serious title race that went down to the death. Like, they're just, I don't know. I just don't think they have it. I think it tells you a lot about Arsenal. Our game against them told me a lot about them. Is that they're scared to win. You know, when you're running to the corner flag at home with 15 to go, it just shows a fear for me. Finty said, Liverpool fan since I was 10, now 50. Long time that, mate. Long time. Right. I want to just read through a couple of bits and pieces from the post-match stuff today. So there was an interesting conversation between a couple of, I guess, relatively prominent X accounts that I was, sent a screenshot of earlier on. Wanted to know what you think of this conversation. So, first account was George, who said, Trent needs to book up his ideas ASAP. When you've got Szoboszlai and Gravenberch running themselves to death and him jogging next to them, it's embarrassing. Then Barry, at Backseats Man, replied saying, I don't know what he thinks Real Madrid is, but if he put in that performance for them, their fans would chase him out of the city. Moby Haig then said, Marca would be posting headlines daily and the fans in La Liga are brutal. Then they went on to say they had to go with Bale and attacked his car for poor performances. Exactly. And I agree with everything that they've said there. If Trent put in that performance in La Liga, in a Madrid shirt, everything they said there is spot on. But somehow, some people deem it acceptable for us. I don't. That was Trent of 18 months ago. That was the Trent that made my blood boil. That was the Trent that I was screaming at when we lost to Madrid and Modric was running past them. He needs to sort his fucking head out. He just does. Because I'm all for him having a languid, relaxed attitude and being himself, fair enough. But you don't get to half-arse it. You just don't. B-Max said, Kwanzaa is just not good enough. I tried to forgive him after the mistake in the United game, but I can't. Too many mistakes at this level. So, I get where you're coming from, and I don't know how it works out in the long term about Jarell. I don't know if he works out or not. We've seen both sides of him. We've seen a real quality, brilliant side of him, and then we've seen this kind of jittery, nervy side of him. But I'll go back to the substitution for me today and say I just felt Arnold made a mistake bringing him on. Because best case scenario, he has a decent enough game. But the worst case scenario was he's involved in a moment that we can see the goal and his confidence takes another shot, which it did, in my opinion, today. So, yeah, I could get what he was trying to do. You know, he wanted to bring in a centre-back or three at the back and move us up in midfield, but I felt like there were probably better options. Even if Endo came on, I would have felt calmer about it. Harris said, Craig, whilst we have no competent left back, what about trying Trent and Bradley as the full backs? Well, we're probably going to see Gomez go to left back on Wednesday against Southampton, unless he brings through one of the youngsters. But this is where I come back to David Lynch's comment about Liverpool maybe not looking to address the left back situation in January. I don't agree with that, because Costas ultimately is not going to be the one that is the Liverpool left back for 5 or 6 years. I don't think anybody believes that. So if we can agree on that, and we can agree on we're uncertain what's going on with Robertson, then I think we're back into the hoping for the best territory rather than asking, can we genuinely improve this position? And I think if we have that conversation and we're honestly saying, can we genuinely improve this left back position? I think the answer is yes. I do. I think we can. But it'll involve us being a bit ruthless, maybe. Timmy said, Trent doesn't have the mentality to play games against smaller teams. When you play for Liverpool, clearly all your games are against smaller teams, but I agree he was caught out of position far too much today. And even on top of the positional stuff, which I can understand when we're stretched and when he's trying to get forward, it's the getting back half-arsing it stuff that's winding people up. You know, today was a game where I guess formation was tinkered with a bit. The game became stretched as we went down to 10. There was space for Fulham to exploit. But like they said in that conversation I just spoke about, you had Szoboszlai, you had Gravenberch, you had Jones covering every damn blade of grass out there, running themselves ragged. Darwin came on, put in a shift. Elliott came on, put in a shift. And Trent strolling around like he's on a holiday. It's unacceptable. For a guy that professes to love the club and professes to want to captain it one day, his head's in the fucking clouds at the minute and it needs to be sorted. Ruan said, I think Trent might be a bit distracted by Madrid and contract, but I really don't know. Exactly. And that just proves my point in that it is a distraction, right? Because remember, when I say these things or when you say these things or when anybody else says these things, what we hear is these guys are professionals, they're focused. Bullshit. They're human. And I don't care what anyone says. These contract situations are a distraction. And you don't need to listen to me on that. Mohamed Salah told the world flat out, in front of the Sky cameras or the TNT Sport cameras, they're getting in my head. The contract situation's in my head. And he wants to stay. With Trent, we don't know what he wants. He's doing these interviews with Melissa Reddy and Sky where, again, he's not really making anything clear. Talking about doing everything behind the scenes. It doesn't take anything to say, I want to be here. I want to play for Liverpool. I've no interest in going to Spain. You know, I think he's leaving himself vulnerable, is what I would say. Steve, how are you, bro? So we need a new young left back. Robbo can't do 2 games a week. That's fair. He can't. And as much as Costas has improved, Steve, this season, and I will give Costas his credit on that, he's certainly been better. I think most of us agree that he won't be ever a starting left back for Liverpool week in, week out, because I don't think he's good enough. And I think most people would agree on that. So then we're at the point again, like I said earlier on, is what are we afraid of? Why? Like, if I'm a coach, every summer, I look at every single position and ask, can this be improved? And if the answer is yes, and there's a feasible and affordable way to do it in the market, you have to do it. You know, it isn't a game built on sentiment. It's a game built on small margins. And you have to be ruthless. And I don't think we have been enough at times. I think we are a little bit too happy to let people live off past accomplishments. So why not go out to the market and show that we're serious? This is a chance for Arne Slot to put a rocket up some players. Put the fear of God into them. That, like, I will be ruthless. If you don't cut the mustard, I will look to improve the position. I will bring somebody in. But again, it's hard to talk about these things when we don't know, because the window hasn't opened yet. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself on it. But I think most people in the chat would agree. Defender, midfielder. That's, you know, in and around what we need to do. Robinson has to be in consideration today. He was fabulous for Fulham. He's 28 in his next birthday. He's too old. You know, let's be honest about it. He is. I don't want Liverpool signing 28-year-old left backs. I don't. Because it's not going to be a long-term solution. So, as much as I agree on Robinson's play, by the way, I think he was very impressive. It's just not a feasible answer to go and sign a 28-year-old left back. Kirkes, Marmoush and Zubamendi or Ederson this January, said Cohen. I don't think we need to dip into the forward market, if I'm being honest, in January. Left back and midfield are my 2 personal ones, mate, but all them names on your list I'd be more than happy with. Who would you move on? Robbo or Costas? Costas. Because Robbo, as somebody pointed out earlier on, Steve I think it was, you know, if you're playing him once a week, I think you can manage Andy Robertson a lot better. But Costas, I think we're seeing probably the best version of him, and I still don't feel it's good enough longer term. So yeah, I'd say Costas. And you probably get more money as well, moving on Costas. But maybe we ask the chat. Let's ask the chat, 1 second. One second, folks. Right, so I've given you 4 options. I've said, who would you sell? Costas, Robbo, both, or neither? And we'll see what people think on that one. Liverpool 67 said, Trent's attitude always stinks. That's why I've said from day one, if Trent ever becomes the captain, we'll be in the mud. Again, I find it hard to get a read on him. Because he strikes me as a kind of more introverted fella, Trent, but that still doesn't excuse jogging around. Like, you're half-arsing it in a game where your team's already down to 10. And you've got, as many people have said, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, Jones running around like lunatics. I mean that in a good way. Covering every blade of grass, leaving it all out there. Yeah, it's hard to stomach seeing a team down to 10 and everybody not putting in that level of effort. Because most of them did. Pulse Champ, how are you, bro? Thank you for your super chat. Said, Arne will be ruthless. Trent needs to wake up. He just needs to make a decision, mate, is all I would say. Is If you want to go to Madrid, then off to Madrid you go. But stop stringing people along with it. If you want to stay, then say you want to stay and say that you want the club to move the contract negotiations along with your party and you want a solution because you want to be here. And I don't know how that hasn't riled up more people, because in this situation we know 2 of the 3 boys want to stay because they've said it clearly, and yet the one who claims he wants to captain Liverpool to achieve everything with his boyhood club seemingly can't just say the words, I want to be here, I don't want to leave. I don't understand that. You know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm looking too deeply at this, maybe I'm expecting too much of Trent, I don't know. But I know it doesn't sit well with me. Harry said, Trent is the local boy, but showing the least effort. I think people get really wound up by players with all the talent in the world. And he does have all the talent, let's be honest about that. If you don't back that up with the honest endeavour and work rate and effort, I think fans are going to turn quickly, because from what I know of Liverpool fans, honesty and effort is something that they value, even if it's a player who maybe isn't as technically proficient as some others. If you run through a brick wall for the manager, you leave it all out there on the pitch, fans will get behind you and rally you. And that's why a lot of people are stuck with Darwin, because they see the effort. Yes, there's some frustrating times, but they see the effort. With Trent, so many times we've had this lazy look off him, and it's infuriating when you know how good he is. Vanicho said, Arna can only be ruthless if he has options. Again, that's a fair point, mate. You know, it's a fair point, but Arna doesn't have to be as what's the word I'm looking for here? Passive, maybe, as Jurgen. I would expect Arna, if he's not being back, to call out the owners a bit more than Jurgen would have. You know, Jurgen genuinely did seem to have a decent relationship with the owners, a respectful one. But I would have liked him to have summoned his inner Rafael Benitez a bit more, and just left a little few nuggets in there about wanting a few more signings. And, you know, with Arna, I seen today at times he was getting frustrated, and we haven't seen much frustration from Arna. But when their keeper had the ball today, he was counting. You could see him 7, 8, 9, 10 to the 4th official. I think he's starting to get wound up by some of the stuff he sees now in the Premier League as well. And if he doesn't feel he's been supported in the market, which again hasn't opened yet, so yeah. But overall today, to get back to the game in the day, I still don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel about it. I really have a mixture of emotion today, because there's a lot of pride in the effort put out there. A lot of respect for the manager and the changes, the tweaks that he made and the way he figured it out. So there's a lot to be upbeat about there as well today. But, you know, our wiggle room is, I guess, closing a bit. I try once more. If no reply, I have to find another Liverpool YouTube community. Fuck off. Simple as that. Just fuck off. It's that easy, mate. You don't come in and give me an ultimatum because you're jumping up and down like a petulant little bitch because someone's not reading your comment. Fuck off and find your other community. But I tell you what you won't find is another YouTuber who will interact as much as I do. So if you think I don't read your comments out, best of luck finding that community that you're going to get them read out in. But in life, in general, I don't deal with ultimatums well. If I didn't get to your comment and I'd missed it a few times, I apologise. But as you can see, there's a lot of comments in there and I try to get through as many of them as I can. But this is the best community. So you're wasting your time, but you'll find that out the hard way. And I'm not talking about me here. I'm talking about them great people in the chat. So off you pop. Remember, Is that true, actually, Glenn? I don't know if that is really true or not. But is one of them, so I think it's a fair comment. Glenn Parry said, remember Trent is the highest paid right back in world football. Honestly, does it feel like we've got that? So, I'm going to answer you with a bit of a long-winded one, Glenn, so bear with me, bro. I don't think we're seeing it now, but I do think this situation is distracting him. I feel like if tomorrow he signed a contract and closed it off, I think he'll feel more comfortable in his own skin. I think he'll feel a bit freer. I think he'll feel hopefully more loved by the club, like he's been acknowledged for what he could achieve. But I think he wants to be paid for what he might achieve and not where he is. Because right now at 200 odd grand a week, I think he's more than fairly compensated as a right back. And I've always said, as much as I don't mind him getting a pay rise, there's no fucking world that he deserves to be anywhere near Mohamed Salah's level of pay. None. Because he doesn't do it as much. He doesn't help us as much. It's just madness. It is holding us to ransom, in my opinion. Because I don't think he's going to Madrid and getting 300 and 350 grand a week. I absolutely don't. So I've always had this feeling that we're being given one number, and it's almost like but I'm a local boy, give me this. And at the same time, also holding that same thing over you by going, but I'm a local boy, you might walk. I'd be calling his bluff at this point, if I'm the club, to be honest. Timmy said, Craig, without a doubt, you're the best channel for reading out non-super chat messages. I really like that about this channel. I try so much, mate, to interact, because I genuinely want to know what you all think. And the super chat stuff, you know, you have to prioritise them because people spending their hard-earned money. But, you know, I exist off your comments because I want to know what you're feeling, where you're watching, how your day's going. So it really riles me up when somebody couldn't just say what they wanted to write, was that I'm an impatient little bitch, jump up and down, look at me, give me some attention. If my child done that, I wouldn't give them the attention. So I'm not going to do it to somebody in the YouTube comments who I don't even recognise as being somebody who's been around that long. And they're already trying to threaten us with finding another community. Well, then off you fucking pop. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. What's my opinion on Owen Beck? Do you know, I'll be honest with you, Cyberflea, I haven't followed enough of him to know. That's the honest answer, mate. When I've seen him playing, it is a handful. I've always thought he looked steady. Not setting the world alight, but steady. But honestly, mate, I think it would be unfair of me to give you an assessment on him because I wouldn't have watched enough of him. Haley said, I love your honesty. Well, so Haley, I grew up and my mum used to always say to me that your mouth's going to get you in trouble. Because I'm blunt. But then I found out that, you know, I've got Asperger's and I'm on the autism spectrum. And then my bluntness kind of made sense to me. But it still is who I am. And I am cutting at times. And I am vicious at times. But I hope you notice when and why I'm that way. Because if somebody comes in and shows our community and me respect, you will never, ever see me going in on them. Never. I only go in on people who come in and act like an asshole. Because, like I've always said, respect's a minimum. To me, to you, and to everybody else. So you show it, you'll get it. You don't, you're going to get the rough side of me. Because I'm no one's fool. I'm not a soft touch. But, you know, I try to be respectful because I care about you all. And genuinely, I wouldn't be here without you. But assholes like your man can just do one. John Henry will be telling Arna that Owen Beck and McConnell are like new signings in January. So, when I speak with David about not making a signing, right, and let's say I said the summer was a letdown because FSG didn't back the manager, right? Well, David would feel that it's actually a decision for Hughes and Edwards, that they have the autonomy to make these decisions. And I understand where he's coming from to some extent, because yes, that is their role. But I think that autonomy is capped. So yes, you do have some free will to make these decisions. But you're not going to go out there and sign 200 million quid forward and John just goes, oh, well, if you want it, mate, I'm writing the cheque, you know? So I do think there's a balance in the middle somewhere. I was actually a little bit surprised as well we didn't see Chiesa today for a couple of minutes. I thought us chasing the game as we were, and looked great to see Diogo come on. It looked like he didn't miss a beat, but I thought maybe we get a little sneak, maybe even 5-10 minutes of Chiesa, which was a little bit surprising not to see him get a run out today. Probably will get a run out on Wednesday though against Southampton, and I'm genuinely excited to see him. Jota's finishing style always amazed me. So, Mohamed Ashraf, let's look at this goal, bud, right, today for Diogo. Let's just look at it in its own unique thing. He gets the ball on the edge of the box. Would you call it a chance at that point? I'm going to say no. It's a good position. The first bit of magic to turn the defender is just peak Diogo. But it's the finish. It's the finish that really got me. Because it's not often you're going to finish from the edge of the box and send the keeper the wrong way. It was Bobby Firmino-esque. And it was a very Diogo Jota type goal. And it was incredibly impressive. Incredibly impressive. But we know that, you know, that's what Diogo's about when he's available. He's such a damn good footballer. But to send the keeper the wrong way from the edge of the box nearly, that shocked me. It's not often you see that. And to be like so sharp after being out for as long as he has, it's the man is just a classy footballer. He just is. Haley said, you've always been so nice. You even said hi to my son who's 6 and he was made up. Always, because you come in and you're nice, Haley. So that's the way I treat people, mate. If you come in and like you've been, you contribute to the chat, you have a genuine question or you want to give an opinion, brilliant. You know, you'll always be welcome in here. And again, always happy to say hello to your young man or anybody else's kids if they're watching, because, you know, I appreciate your time and their time. Let's have a look at this poll then. So we said, who would you sell? Costas, Robbo, both or neither? I have to say, I'm being surprised here a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, but I can understand where you're coming from. We'll leave it running a bit longer, but so far, Costas has 30% of the vote. Andy Robertson has 37% of the vote. 21% for both and 11% for neither. So we'll leave that running a bit longer, but it's interesting. Monkstown Glass said, Craig, I know you like David, but he's up FSG's arse. Never had a bad word about them, which is just not right when we're pulling our hair out. So, right, how do I address this? I would respectfully disagree with you, but that might be because I've had conversations with him where I have heard him being critical of certain aspects of the ownership, like the Trent contract situation. I've had conversations with him where I've been left in no doubt that he knows that's a mistake. But what I would also say is he's in a bit of a precarious position in that he's a former employee of the club who is in a position of still getting media access as an independent journalist, which is relatively rare these days. And I genuinely think he gives his honest take. And the reason that we wanted David on the channel is because I wanted to show that we can contrast in opinions, be respectful, and talk it through. So I have nothing but respect for David Lynch. Honestly, I do. And if I felt he was an apologist for the owners, he wouldn't be here. But also, I do understand where you're coming from, because I guess it just depends on what you're used to, right? So you're used to me kind of calling out the owners, but I can tell you one thing, he genuinely wants the best for the football club. I've no doubt about that in my mind. He loves his football club dearly. And but look, appreciate where you've come from. I guess some people will probably look at it the other way, right? I guess there's people who look at me and David Lynch doing a video together and think, David, why are you working with him? You know, some people will think I'm toxic. Some people will think I'm just filled full of hate for the owners. But I enjoy the contrast, and I enjoy hearing a different perspective on it. And I'm very grateful and happy to work with him as well. What have we got this? 1 point with 10 men. Get behind Brentford tomorrow, said Christian, I hope they can get something tomorrow, but I don't know. Look, they're a difficult team, Brentford. They're not an easy touch for anyone. But I don't know. I think Chelsea will have the momentum after seeing us and Arsenal dropping points today. So I'd be very surprised if they did drop at them. Like, there are some journalists, by the way, who I would say publicly are up the owners' arses. Like James Pearce. I love him. He's a lovely man. A really, really down-to-earth, sound, great guy with loads of time for fan content and always been nothing but friendly to people. But I could sit here and say to you wholeheartedly, I feel like he would be somebody I would say is too apologetic for the owners. And there are a few others as well, to be honest. Fan channel wise, look, I don't want to put my foot in a big pile of shit here, but I think there's a lot of people that are putting pound notes ahead of their honest, genuine opinions, who, you know, have the cheek to look down at the rest of us from their ivory tower of access, but don't have a backbone. So, you know, that riles me up as well. Dennis, how are you, my man? Said, I have to be honest, when Gakpo and Diaz are both playing, Slot prefers to sub off Gakpo over Diaz. It's starting to get on my nerves. Gakpo has been much more effective this season. Diaz, 0 goals and assists in the Prem since September. So, Dennis, today, I'm going to be honest with you and say I agree with you. Because today, when I seen Gakpo coming off, I thought, no, he's more of a goal threat. I would have left him on today. So I agree with you in the grand scheme of things. And I also hope that this is the end of the experiment now of Diaz through the middle, because it worked in one game where maybe the opposition weren't expecting it. But since then, whilst I understand that Arna has limited options there with only 4 forwards, I think he's far better on the left. And I love the ability for Arna to go, right, well, if this lad is 9 out of 10, I've got Gakpo who will probably be 9 out of 10 or vice versa. Love that competition on the left. I want more of that in other positions. So, yeah, I agree. Azar said, Craig, I emailed your business about some personal problems. I'm going to be blunt, Azar. I can't take on your personal problems. I can't. I want to be sympathetic. I want to be supportive. But I also have to be careful because I don't want to give you the wrong advice. And I also have to protect myself a little bit because I used to get a lot of DMs and stuff, mate, when I was on social media from people. And you want to help everyone because people are, you know, you hate to see anybody down in a bad place. And it isn't because I don't care, because I promise you, mate, I do. I just don't have the ability to be able to take it on mentally myself. You know, I'm not strong enough. But I hope you understand what I mean, because imagine you're in a bad place and I say something to you and it's a wrong bit of advice and it doesn't work out for you. I don't want that for you, mate. I don't. If anybody is really suffering like that, I will always say, you know, try to seek professional help on it. Because it's exactly what I do myself. You know, whenever I'm getting to that point or I'm struggling, mate, I always reach out to my psychologist or, you know, seek professional help on it. And I want that for you as well. Now, if it's a financial issue or anything like that, that we, you know, that's stopping you from doing it, man, we can have that conversation. But I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I'm just scared to give you bad advice. And by the way, Azor, happy to interact with you via email on other stuff. You want to talk about the club, mate, or anything like that, mate, no problem. You know, contact at AnfieldAgenda.com. I'll happily chat back and forth with you, bro, via email. So it isn't like I don't want to chat with you. It's just I got to be careful on that one thing because I don't want to put you in a bad place or say something that will make your situation worse. But if you want to chat footy or anything else, man, always happy to respond. And I haven't seen the email as well, by the way, so apologies on that. Joe said, Craig, people like Lynchy can't really start slagging off the owners or they lose their access. 100%. And this is what I've said as well. Like, David Lynch is a journalist, right? He isn't a fan channel. He's a journalist, a professional journalist. So has to keep to a standard of professionalism and respectfulness. So I would put David in a very different category to other fan channels who are afraid to lose their access because they're afraid of the pound notes drying up. That boils my blood, because you're professing to be a fan channel that wants the best for your club, for your city. You know damn well that the owners aren't cutting the mustard, but you haven't got the backbone to call it out. That I would put in a different category, personally, because you're not a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I'm a fan channel. I'm here to look for the best for the manager and the team and call out whatever I see as a deficiency, and I don't care who I annoy in the process. If it's my genuine feelings, I'm saying them. But others, I don't think they're doing the fan base an honest service. I think they're actually adding to the problems that we have by being sycophants. January transfer window, said Tala is going to set the tone of the season. Whether the club are serious about winning trophies, they need to sign 2 or 3 players. So what if the transfer window ends up being something like the player we wanted isn't available but might be available in the summer? How would you feel about that if that was the answer we got? So let's say Zubamendi said he's open to leaving Sociedad in the summer, and we think we might be able to get him then. Personally, I would still feel very, very nervous about that, because again, it would feel like all the eggs in one basket without a guarantee of those eggs coming home to roost. So I would still be pissed off about it. In the summer, as much as I disagreed with our lack of activity in the market, I did at least have an understanding that we had a new sporting director in, a new manager in, and maybe they needed to assess everything. They needed to assess the squad. The manager needed to see who he could rely on, who he couldn't. The sporting director needed to maybe take more time after the Zubamendi deal didn't happen to look at the market and find other alternatives. So I can almost understand the summer, but now I think those excuses have dried up. I won't accept nothing as an answer, honestly, said Mohammed. We lose the league, said Monkstown Glass. Gerard, feeling so we used to have Matip as a third centre-back. Now it's Gomez or Kwanzaa. Surely we need an upgrade in this department. So, personally, I don't mind having Gomez as a third choice centre-back at all. I can argue and agree that we would need more depth on top of that. But quality-wise, I don't. I feel like it's putting a lot of faith in Kwanzaa. And also a lot of pressure on his young shoulders. But I guess it's a sink or swim occupation. So I guess maybe we find out over the course of this season if Kwanzaa is made for being at Liverpool, or perhaps if the club is a bit too big, a bit too soon for him, and maybe he needs to go down and build his way back up. So I guess there is that part of it, maybe. Naturalist said there was a report that said Ederson is not being considered by Liverpool because of the price. So I don't know that to be the case. I do know that when I bring up his name in conversation with people, it's not a name that I get much encouragement on. They feel stylistically maybe he isn't the best fit for Arne. I would disagree on that, but see, I've never any problem if we're ruling out a player because of a style of play issue. But when it comes down to ruling them out because of money, or we're talking about a 40, 50 million pound midfielder being too much, then that riles me. Aaron said, are you looking forward to the Fury fight next Saturday? And how do you see it going? Am I looking forward to it? Yeah, absolutely. It's intriguing. How do I see it going? I think you could make a valid argument for any outcome. You could make usually in these type of fights, the second one's more conclusive to the winner of the first one if it was close. But we know the Fury, if he gets Usyk, can hurt him. We know that. But can he pin him down enough? Has he learned lessons from the first fight? It genuinely is intriguing. It really, really is. And 100% be tuning in to watch it and paying the money for it. Absolutely. I can tell you who I want to win. 100% Alexander Usyk. Because I don't like Tyson Fury very much at all. I don't like much about Tyson Fury, to be honest. I respect the way he's turned his life around in that regard, absolutely. But I think there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get said enough as well about where was the rematch for Klitschko, when the mental health stuff was happening, coincidentally also when he was, on a ban. So there's a lot of stuff that I just don't like about the whole Fury juggernaut. So yeah, I've never really been able to take to him, but he's an incredibly good boxer, no denying that. What have people been telling you about Zubimendi in January? Nothing concrete. All I'm hearing is the usual. If he showed a willingness, Liverpool would be open to it. That's all I've heard. The Times reported yesterday, I think it was, that he has performed a U-turn. I don't have that information. I wish I did. But, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Zubimendi. D said, it's the same excuse year after year. Anyone believing them probably still thinks we're working on the Bellingham and Mbappe deals for the summer. You see the same thing as you said over and over again every year. And do you know what? Hang on, I need to cough. D, do you know what gets me about it, right? Is that they point to the fact that we've won stuff as a reason to why the owners are brilliant. But I look at the world very differently. I think we won that in spite of the owners, and that Jurgen Klopp covered a lot of their deficiencies, and Arne Slot's good coaching is covering a lot of their deficiencies. And I think what might we have won if they hadn't have been so cheap. That's the way I look at the world, and that's the way I look at time under Klopp and the time so far under Arne is, I think whatever we're winning is going to be in spite of these cheap owners and not because of them. Cohen said, Ederson 42 million, 10 million less than Zubimendi, FSG 0. Look, my thoughts on Ederson, mate. He was my number one target for midfield. Even before Zubimendi's name got mentioned, Ederson was the one that I was speaking about as somebody who's always impressed me when I've watched them. And I would still love him. But, I wish he was still somebody's name has been mentioned. But at least not to my knowledge. Or to my knowledge, we don't have an active interest in him. But God, I hope I'm wrong. What position do you think we're weakest in? And who do you think we should bring in? So there's two ways to answer the question. You can look at it from a starting 11 perspective. And if you're looking at it from a starting 11 perspective, we're weakest at left back. If you're looking at it from a squad perspective, I think you could probably find three areas that we don't have enough competition in. Central midfield for Gravenberch. Left back, like we've spoken about. And I would also say we don't really have any competitor for Mo on the right. As much as you could have for Mo. So there are areas that I don't think we've enough competition. And that without that competition, you run the risk of somebody either being injured and costing you points, or perhaps getting a little bit blasé, knowing there's no one breathing down their neck. And I don't like that either. I think everyone should be on their toes at all times. Like, for instance, let's look at the left side of attack, right? Gakpo, if he played a game and he didn't cut it, well, we know Diaz can come in there. And if Diaz plays well, well, then it's up to Gakpo to start performing again, to wrestle the shirt back off him. I view that as good competition, healthy competition. And competition when you're winning, and you're in as many competitions and play as many games as we do, that you can still keep everybody happy. So 2 top class players in every single position around the park is what I think you need in modern football. Is Elliott not competition for Mo? Not for me, Tom. I don't see him as a right winger. I see him as competition for Gravenberch and Soboslai in that advanced midfield position. But I don't think of Elliott as a right winger, no. Worst Liverpool transfer window in recent years, in your opinion? It's that winter one where we didn't bring in the midfielder. That one, where we brought in Melo in the end on loan. That's fucking unforgivable for me, that window. How many games will Robertson miss? Just one, mate. He'll only miss the League Cup quarter-final on Wednesday. Because it wasn't dangerous play or reckless challenge or anything. So it's only a 1-game suspension. Susan, love from Laois. What part of Laois, if you don't mind me asking, Susan? Because we used to live in Laois, technically. It was Ballylinan, which I'm sure you know if you're in Laois. Just over the border from Athy, from Kildare into Laois. But we lived there for about a year. And I loved it. It was a really nice place. Really quaint, really quiet. Good access to Athy. Good access over to Carlow. What do you think of Cherky? I haven't watched enough of him to give you an honest opinion, but if you're talking about profile-wise, he's the right age profile. Probably in a position where Leon could do with the money, if I understand their financial situation. I just don't know how best he would fit into our squad and how best we would utilise him, if that makes any sense. I'm far more familiar with Omar Marmouche. Oh, Mount Rath. Nice. Nice, Susan. Nice. I loved living in Laois. It was a really cool place. Till Sheen said, Cherky's attitude is rotten. So, again, I'm going to have to take your word on that, mate, because I don't know enough about him. Craig, if you include Darwin, do you want Liverpool to move 4 players on? Darwin, Costas. See, I'd sell Costas over Robbo. Darwin, Costas. I don't think we need to move anybody on in midfield. We probably need to move a goalkeeper on. So, whomever that is. I think 3. Yeah, I don't think it would be rushing to move too many more on. I fear Gomez is going to want to move on in the summer. I think we're going to see a summer where Joe Gomez maybe angles for a move away. Oh, Endo. Yes, sorry, Endo. Thank you. Yes. I'd forgotten about Endo in all honesty. So yeah, Endo would be the other one. But again, I can only reiterate this. I love Endo. He's a model pro. And I'm sure he's great around the club. He's just been so unfortunate. You know, it's not down to anything he's done wrong. It's just a change of manager, I think, is what's going to cost Endo. Slot doesn't get a say in incoming transfers. I don't know where you got that nonsense from, but he does. Absolutely. He mightn't have the same influence as Klopp would have, but he absolutely has a part to play. You know? So what will probably happen is a few options will be presented to him. He'll give his opinion on one he thinks is the best fit, and then it's up to Hughes to get the player in. But he will have some say, absolutely. No manager's going to want a player brought in who they don't want in the team or don't want in the squad. It's not productive for anybody for that to be the case. But I don't think he will have anywhere near the level of input that Jurgen would have had because he hasn't earned that yet. Craig, if you sign Zubimendi, would he replace Gravenberch or would it be a midfield of Maka, Zubimendi and Gravenberch? I think it would depend on the opposition, Sam. Some games, maybe, you would have both of them in there. It would also depend maybe how long it would take him to acclimatise to the league, what level of performances he's putting in. It just gives you so many options though, doesn't it? You know, if you want to go with 2 deeper line players, you have that option. If you want to extend Ryan a little bit further forward, you have that option. And also it just gives the manager a chance to rest Ryan Gravenberch a bit more so he doesn't get burnt out. Endo played centre-back before. Yes, he has, Kelsey. I think he's played it. I know he's played it with Stuttgart, but I can't remember if he played it for Japan or not. Tilsheen said, feel bad for Tyler Morton. He was ripping it up at Blackburn and didn't get another loan because we need a safety. Yeah, I think that's fair as well. There are players like him that I don't know why we keep them around. And I don't mean that derogatory towards him. I mean, you don't see any indications that he's going to be the solution, do you? So why not let him be on loan or get a move somewhere where he can build his career? Because I think he deserves it, because he's a good, talented footballer. I just don't think he'll make it at Liverpool. So why hold him back? You know, if you're unsure about it, put a buyback clause in it. When does Alisson's contract expire? 2027. June 2027. So he's 2.5 years to go. Patrick said, going back on Zubamendi and then he turns us down again would make us look stupid. It would. I mean, you'd have to get an answer off him in the summer. Or, sorry, in the winter. A concrete bona fide, something signed, sealed and delivered, even if it is for the summer. Because you're right, we'd look like absolute clowns. Even if he ends up at Man City or elsewhere now, I think we look very foolish. But I would like to believe that if he has changed his mind, Patrick, that he look around and think that, again, Liverpool is the best option for him. Because I feel it is. But then again, I would say that, wouldn't I? I'm a Liverpool fan. Klopp had total control, that's the difference. Yeah, but he earned total control, Andrew. Jurgen earned that control. When Jurgen came into the club, he didn't have the same control as he had when he left. But he earned the respect and the trust of the owners and the staff by his work. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a committee and everybody having an input on transfers. Because I think if you look at the end of Jurgen's time, there was some transfers there like Darwin that we wouldn't have signed if it wasn't just Jurgen making that decision then. I think that wouldn't have happened under Edwards, as an example. So, pros and cons, but again, he earned the right to have that impact or input. I maintain that we should have signed Kefren Thuram before he went to Juve. I've not really kept tabs on him when he's been at Juve, to be honest with you. So I don't know if it was a good or a bad thing that we didn't follow up that interest. But what I will say is, I think it is an absolute piss take that we are still looking for this number 6. I don't know how many windows later. You know, we can go through multiple different players now. Zubamendi, Caicedo, Lavia, Tchouaméni, all looked at and didn't want to come, and we're still searching for that player, still looking. And this is why I don't understand people giving the owners breathing room. How does it take this long to sign a player in a position you've needed for 4 or 5 windows? Hughes needs to show his worth because right now he's just collecting the paycheck. I agree. I said this and I wasn't being facetious when I asked it, but what has he done since he's come to the club? Truly. Because on his inbox, or in his inbox and his to-do list was sign a number 6, sort out the 3 contracts, and none of them have been done. None. So what exactly has been going on for him between when he started in the summer and now? I think it is a fair question. Pops Limbu said Pogba to City. That's what Miguel Delaney posted. He said City have sounded out a move for Pogba. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. It's just another sign they've lost the fucking plot. What did you make of Trent's performance today? Unacceptable. So, any football fan can understand somebody having a bad day from the perspective of their passing being off, their touch being off, their shooting being off. But you can't ever accept a lack of effort. And that's what riles fans up. People will forgive mistakes if you're putting yourself about. But if you're strolling around like you don't need to work as hard as everybody else, that is unacceptable. It's bullshit. And it needs to be called out. Do you think we get Zubimendi or Kirkes in January? I wouldn't have a knowledgeable enough answer to say yes or no either way. I think because I don't have a lot of trust. I don't have a lot of trust that Edwards and Hughes are gonna be up to it. I don't know of, like, every time I speak to a journalist, either on or off camera, and we talk about midfield targets, not one of them, not one person has given me a name that isn't Zubimendi. Not one. And I've asked many. Not one name. Not even who are we looking at? Who are we monitoring? Who are we tracking? It's just silence. We've seen us linked with 7 attackers, but, 3, 4 different left backs, but not one name for midfield. Not fucking one. And that truly astounds me. Bradley or Frimpong? Bradley. I think Bradley would suit us better. If Trent goes, having both wouldn't be too shabby, but I just don't think Frimpong would work for us in the way that we play. And if we wanted a left back, I like De Kuiper from Club Bruges. I think he's brilliant. I think he'd be a lot cheaper as well than Kirkes. But again, if the club want Kirkes and Arna wants Kirkes, brilliant. I've no problem with that. Get who the manager wants. Any news on Ricci? No, nothing new, mate. No. Even when I mentioned that name to a few people, it's not a name it's been given much encouragement back on either, which is what I was saying about midfield. I'm really struggling to get anything, or not just me. I don't think anybody knows of any options in midfield that I'm aware of. There's some people who will tell you stuff off the record. But even at that, I've not got any confidence of who we're chasing down in midfield. I haven't got a clue. Joe Wilkinson said, I don't have an issue with us signing any name as long as Slot wants them and we actually sign them. That I'm 100% in agreement with, mate. That's all I ever want, is the managers to be feeling like they're being supported. And Arna's had enough time to assess the squad. He's had enough time to get used to what the Premier League's like. And I think he'll know now. It's a bit different. The intensity's higher than the Netherlands. The games come thick and fast. The referees are fucking clowns. And I think he knows that we need a couple of signings. Ryan Gravenberch will end up being injured if we don't make the signing. Because, we don't want a 24, 25-year-old burnt out Ryan Gravenberch because he's been overplayed and hasn't been given any type of a break. To keep these levels at peak, look at what's going on in 2 parts of the pitch, right? So when McAllister's fit, you've got Szoboszlai and Jones. One plays, one doesn't. The other plays, the other doesn't. Competition, rest, rotation, peak levels. Left side of attack, Diaz, Gakpo, same situation. One plays, one doesn't. One pushes the other onto higher levels. One's breathing down their throat. Brilliant. I want that. I want more of that. More of that, knowing that if the one player in this position isn't available or is looking tired, we can sub somebody in or rest somebody and rotate somebody in, and we're going to get that same intensity. McAllister can play 6, but I'm a bit fed up of people being shoehorned into positions that aren't their best positions. And I think we can all agree McAllister's so good that, yeah, you're right, you can play the 6, but it's not his best position. His best position is a bit more forward leaning, kind of halfway between an 8 and a 10. That's where we want Alexis McAllister. So to do that, you need to have the belief in the person behind you, which of course we have when Gravenberch's there. But Gravenberch's just going to pick up an injury because he's been played too much. Right, let's end that poll. that we had up earlier on. So we said, who would you sell? And with 38%, you guys said that Robbo is the one you would prefer to sell. Cost is 25%, both 24%, and neither 13%. Thank you to everyone that voted, by the way. So, if you can do me a little quick favour while you're here, hit that like button for me. Appreciate your support. The plan for me tomorrow is likely that I'm going to take the day off and get a bit of a rest, try and get over this cold that I've had. But if something drastic happens, or Chelsea lose, or something like that, maybe I'll jump on tomorrow night. But the plan is to take the day off, watch NFL, watch the darts, rest up, and be back for Monday. So if you don't see me tomorrow, there's nothing wrong or anything like that. It could be a day of absolutely zero content tomorrow, just, in case you don't see anything coming up. Because I can't lie to you, I'm absolutely wiped. It's been a hectic few weeks. I wouldn't change it for the world, but I'm exhausted mentally. The ref was Spurs 2022 away bad blue ghost fouls, said Cohen. Yeah, there was a lot of niggly shit today I didn't like from the ref, but the big decisions, I'm not as annoyed as other people are by them, to be fair. I still don't understand the Gomez penalty incident. I'd love to hear a referee explain to me what the actual law is around that, because he was cleaned out, but, was it an accident? Was the ball not there? I don't know, but it didn't look good, did it? And I don't know, I'm only a football fan. I don't know the way referees interpret those situations, but it certainly looked like Gomez was cleaned out. And of all the challenges, the worst one to me was the one in the first minute. That challenge on Robbo. That, to me, if anybody was looking at a red, that's the one that's most likely, in my opinion, more so than the Grafenberg one. That is the one that I felt was the most reckless and the most out of control. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say goodnight to you all and go watch the boxing that I've recorded and grab a shower. But thank you for joining us again. The link is still there at the top of the chat, by the way, if you want to help us get that chair for Joe, that wheelchair basketball chair. If you can make a small donation, that would be really appreciated. And thank you all for another incredible day today. You guys are amazing. We'll talk to you soon. Much love. Bye-bye.